Yo, what's up, StoryBoardEm? We're back with another episode. This time we're going to be pitching Spider-Man 3, the third MCU Spider-Man movie. There's been a lot of announcements recently with casting and whose characters are going to be in it. So we're going to pitch our ideas of what we think the movie should be like. And you let us know afterwards who you think was best and how you think the movie should go. So we're going to start off straight away. I'm going to throw it to us there and he'll take it from there.
Cool, thanks, man. So, yeah, let's get straight into it. Obviously, the MCU Spider-Man films, you had Homecoming, you had Far From Home, and obviously the third one, it's got to have home in the title somewhere. So I think I'm going to start. I'm just going to tell you the title of the film straight up, and then yeah, you can sort of. I think it'll make sense why it's called that. So this is going to be called Spider-Man 3: Homeward Bound. And I'm giving you a bit of heads up.
That was good.
Here.
Not gonna lie, that was pretty good.
I'm giving you a bit of a heads up here. This pitch kind of got away from me. It does get pretty ridiculous. And I don't feel like I had complete control coming up with this pitch. So I do apologize in advance if you can't follow it and it just makes no sense. But anyways, let's get straight into Spider-Man 3 Homeward Bound. So the film is actually going to start, it's going to be a unique start. It's just going to be Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, just doing like a random sort of, fight with just like a random street level villain. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be the Vulture again, whoever. And then what happens is he just gets landed on by Spider-Gwen. She just appears out of nowhere, lands on him. He's really confused. There's like a bit of panic for a few seconds. She's trying to explain to each other, what's going on. And then there's another sort of a big sort of electric flash, and they disappear. They're off screen, and this is where the title card comes up: Spider-Man Homeward Bound. And what's actually happened is Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen, they have been transported to actually a different dimension in the multiverse. So this time they're on like the home planet of the symbiotes. So where Venom is, and obviously that's not the ideal place to be. And basically, Spider-Gwen explains that what's actually happening is on her universe, in her dimension, Electro and Craven have teamed up together to try and hunt her down and hunt. They're trying to look for something that's in the main MCU universe. So it's the one that Tom Holland's from. It could be Time Stone or whatever, right? And they're after it. And so she's basically duplicated their tech, and now she tried to get there first, and obviously she got there, but they weren't able to stick around.
Have them two together have invented like dimension traveling tech?
Yeah. So
yeah,
they've
cool.
used,
okay.
Craven's tracking like just expertise, and then Electro just like supercharging to dimension travel and dimension hop. And for some reason, they're trying to get to the main MCU Spider-Man universe. So Spider-Gwen obviously got there briefly, and it wasn't stable enough to hold. So her and Tom Holland Spider-Man transported to the Venom planet.
Who's your Gwen?
Spider-Gwen. Yeah, I've not actually thought it could be Emma Stone, or I definitely want it to look like Emma Stone from The Amazing Spider-Man, right?
Right.
So if you find like a younger actress who looks like her or whatever, then that would be ideal. But anyway, so they're not on the Venom planet for very long. They then realize they managed to get the thing, working. They might have a few fights with like some symbiotes here and there, but eventually, they managed to get the thing working, and they hop off over to a different dimension, trying to get back to trying to get back home. Except this time they end up, they end up on the Venom planet. This time they end up in original Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man's dimension. And obviously he's in a fight with Doc Ock. They come in, they help him defeat, Doc Ock, and whatever. And there's a bit of fun, a bit of shenanigans, explaining to Tobey sort of what's going on. Tobey helps them calibrate it, and he basically says that they don't. Whatever, this is not right, so let's try it again. And basically Tobey is not going to go with them on the rest of the journey. He's like, cool, I'm staying here. So he's only sort of briefly in the film, only for just a little while there in his universe. But obviously you do get that bit of sort of nostalgia and fan service of him fighting. So then where they end up is they end up in the Amazing Spider-Man universe, and where they end up, obviously Amazing Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, he's actually taken on like Shocker and the Rhino, and they're really low level crap villains, and he's not struggling at all. And he's just sort of quipping, having fun, taking a battle with them. But then when Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen show up, and he sees Spider-Gwen, and he obviously realizes that she looks incredibly like Gwen Stacy from his universe. He sort of goes into shock, and he kind of gets beat up by Shocker and Rhino, who capitalize on this moment. But again, obviously all the Spider-Men, they join up together, and they defeat them. And again, it's just very briefly, you're in this universe, and you have a really heartwarming moment between Andrew Garfield and Spider-Gwen. Him basically being able to say everything that he wanted to say and apologize to Gwen, even though it's not really Gwen Stacy, he still has the opportunity to apologize. So there's a really nice moment there. And then cool. So they finally calibrate and they finally get back to the main Earth, where Tom Holland's from. They defeat everyone. They're here. They got to whatever it was that they were trying to get to. They find it. They're cool. We done it. We made it home. Gwen, you can go home. You've got this. You can save your dimension, or you can defeat whoever it is you're trying to defeat. That's perfectly fine. But then at that point, all these sort of the villains that we've been facing and interacting with throughout, so like Doc Ock, Kraven, Electro, Rhino, Shocker, and some of the Venom symbiotes, they all not the Venom symbiotes, they all managed to converge onto the main dimension with where Tom Holland and Gwen Stacy are, Spider-Gwen, and that's when you basically have a fight with the Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen versus the Sinister Six. But then what they don't realize is from their time on the Venom planet, there was a little bit of symbiote that was stuck to them. And this symbiote basically overtakes all of the Sinister Six, even though there's only 5 of them, and it turns them all into symbiote versions of themselves.
Oh my days. Okay.
And then there's a whole bunch of sort of, everything's turning into symbiotes. So now it's just like a planet of symbiotes, like 2 Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen taking on a whole bunch of symbiotes. And then that's when you realize that, basically Null, who's a new character, who's basically the god of the symbiotes, he is materialized using all this power and absorbing everything, and whatever it is, that thing that they were trying to look for, they use that, and all the symbiotes come together, and you finally have Null. And then this is basically the big bad villain of the movie, right towards the end. And then I was thinking maybe if it's a time stone or something that they're trying to get, Doctor Strange could call, the other Spider-Men. So you have Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire come, and you might even have Tom Hardy's Venom come as well. And they basically all just team up just to take on Null. And that sort of how the film ends. They managed to defeat him, managed to contain him. All the Spider-Men, go off one by one into their own dimensions. They defeated all the villains, and that is the movie, or thereabouts. So like I said, I did give you a warning beforehand that it does kind of get away from me and it does become a bit ridiculous towards the end. But hopefully that wasn't too bad.
No, it wasn't too bad. That was pretty sick. I liked you throwing in like the god of the symbiotes at the end. that was not expected. You have the Sinister Six and this guy come right at the end.
Because I was like, the Sinister Six, they're like everyone who I'm recruiting for the Sinister, they're just really crap villains, like individually. Like Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen should just be able to take them out, right? And what I really wanted to do was I wanted the symbiotes to overtake them and they come together and form like a giant Venom. And then I thought, well, hang on, what's the point of making a giant Venom? I could just have Null. And I thought that would be a good way to, as well, like just get a quick cameo from Tom Hardy and his Venom as well. And the whole point of this is that it's supposed to launch the Spider-Gwen franchise for Sony, so that Sony don't really need Spider-Man anymore. And I guess it relaunches the Amazing Spider-Man as well.
No, yeah, that is it is wicked. I get what you're saying about the Sinister Six. You do need, I think, a bigger, stronger villain especially when you bring in extra Spider-Men or women.
Yeah.
You need something else for them to fight, maybe. So I like that idea. It's a good idea. And how you brought him in was pretty cool. How it was like set up earlier in the movie, and then he just like appears at the end. That was pretty sick. I like that. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, the thing like it's got no real continuity with anything to do with the MCU. It's more just like every Spider-Man film got put together.
Yeah, I liked how you didn't overuse Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire as well.
Yeah, that's what, because I was worried there's gonna be too many characters.
Yeah, I think that's what I think everyone's expecting them to be, like a triple Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Whereas I think you put them in just the right amount, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, I like that, man.
All right, cool. Cool. I'll hand over to you now then. So let's hear yours.
Yeah, so I'll start off with mine. I'll just give a bit of intro first. So mine picks up pretty much directly after the events of Spider-Man Far From Home. My title's not as good. Yours was a good home. So mine's just Spider-Man Finding Home.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I think it's Finding Home. I couldn't think of like a really good one, so I just stuck with that. I'll keep it simple. Because to be fair, the other ones weren't that great either. Like Far From Home. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, it's
Yeah.
not like super imaginative. So so it's Finding Home, Spider-Man Far From Home, and it basically picks up immediately after the end of Far From Home, where Spider-Man's
the reveal.
identity has been revealed. So that basically is like the catalyst for this movie.
Mm.
So basically, what happens is, so if you go to the first slide, so obviously our cast, what we start off with, we've obviously got Spider-Man, Aunt May, Happy. They're kind of like living together. So straight after the events of that, Spider-Man's like gone home, and he's like they're kind of like with Aunt May, and basically what happens is he gets their home gets attacked by Scorpion pretty much like straight away. He like tracks them down. So it's the same Scorpion who's I think he's like teased at the end of Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man Homecoming. But this time he's got like a suit and everything. So he turns up and he attacks their house where Spider-Man is and Aunt May. So he almost like kills Aunt May because he knows who Peter Parker is. His identity is revealed. So then they kind of escape. But then they'll just be attacked by like more like thugs and random like gangsters who just like have found out his identity and just want to put an end to Spider-Man. So Spider-Man kind of like deals with these people. But Aunt May is obviously like with him on the run. And he's thinking like this can't just go on forever. So he goes to Happy for help.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, you got to keep us safe. Like you've got all the Stark money and everything. And he's like, okay, cool. Like I'll take Aunt May. And like obviously because he's desperate to take Aunt May with him, he's like, oh, cool, Aunt May, you come with me. We'll go to like a secure location. And then Peter's like, cool, like, let's go. And he's like, no, not you. He's like, you stay here. Like you gotta sort this out yourself. And he's like, what do you want me to do? Like, I've got no help. Like Nick Fury, like he's on, like you can't get in touch with him. Like Tony Stark's dead. Like Captain America, Falcon, all them, like they've all like gone. He's like, what do I do? And he's like, Happy's like, okay, listen. He's like. Shield took like most of or Shield or whoever, like Nick Fury people took like most of Stark's like things like that were to do with the Avengers, and loads of it was destroyed when the Avengers were destroyed. But he's like, here I've got like a list of places that he had as like safe spots, and he's like, and people he trusted, like he's talking about Tony obviously, and he's like, you can try this, and he's like, okay, cool. So he's like, then we have like a montage. So Happy and Aunt May leave, and there's a montage of like Spider-Man going to these places trying to look for help. So there's a shot of him like going to the Avengers facility, which is like now like a museum for the Avengers. But he obviously don't find anyone like useful there. There's one of them like trying to go into an Air Force base, so to find like Rhodey. But like the guy just like won't let him in. He's like, what are you doing, kid? Like get out of here. And he can't find like War Machine. And he goes to like a few other places, maybe like that Captain America museum or something, and he's trying to find out where would Cap be, because he maybe doesn't even know that he's like an old person now. He can't find like Falcon, Winter Soldier, and then he's like one shot of him looking up like plane tickets to Wakanda, and he's just like googling it, and he's like, just can't find like a chartered flight to Wakanda. It's like because obviously you can't just travel there. And then he's like, he's like another shot of him. He's like walking the streets of New York, and he's like, oh, okay, the last place, like he said, like of a place he knew, like someone he trusted, and he looks up, and he's in New York, and it's the Sanctum Sanctorum of Doctor Strange. So after obviously because they met in Infinity War, Tony and Doctor Strange, so he knows like, and he went to the Sanctum to meet, like he chilled there with him and Wong, so he knows where he is. So. Then Spider-Man goes there and he's like, oh, he doesn't know like that it's Doctor Strange's place. He's just got like the address because obviously he has met Doctor Strange before. Yeah, so he gets the Sanctum Sanctorum, and he walks in and then he sees like the cloak of levitation that Doctor Strange wears, and it's like flying around. And he's like, "Oh, I recognize you. Like, I remember you. You were from that spaceship.
Yeah.
Like, because he did the cloak there. And then like flies off, and he's like, "Hey, wait, whoa, where are you going?" And then he quickly changes into like he's got his like Spider-Man suit underneath, so he quickly like pulls off his shirt and stuff, and he gets into his Spider-Man outfit, and he follows the cloak of levitation, and then basically this is where it kind of merges with Doctor Strange 2. Is where whoever the villain turns out to be Doctor Strange 2 is basically Doctor Strange is fighting that guy in the Sanctum, and there's loads of like portals to load different dimensions basically around the world, around the Sanctorum, and Spider-Man just gets blasted into one. So if you go to the next slide. So basically, Doctor Strange like kind of you see Doctor Strange, he gets blasted into like Spider-Man gets blasted into a different dimension, and he falls out, and basically he's in New York with like the Tobey Maguire, New York, and then eventually basically he meets up with the Spider-Man there, which is Tobey Maguire, and he's a little bit like the Spider-Man who you see in Into the Spider-Verse, where he's like a bit older and he's a bit kind of like fed up of being Spider-Man because he's done it for like years, and he's like oh, yeah, I'm Spider-Man, save the city again, save the city again.
Yeah.
Like, he's like just bored of it. But he anyway explains to him like, oh, like I need this is what's happened. I've been stuck here, and he's like, okay, cool. Let's go back to the same building and see if we can like if there's anything there we can find. And they go back, and there's no Doctor Strange there, but there's just like loads of these portals still, and they just lead to like loads of different universes. It's just like random. And he's like, oh, okay, just pick one. And they're like, okay. And so they both basically just like jump through one to try and find it, and leave like a thread of spider web. And so there's like it's like the spider web like threads through like the universes, so they can like find themselves way back. So they try like some random ones, and basically there's going to be like a cameo from like Tom Hardy Venom, but they go in and like, nah, not this universe, like jump back, and then like there's going to be one from the what do you call it, Jared Leto as the Morbius, and then things like that, and they're just like jumping through these universes. And then they're trying to find things, and then eventually, they come to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and find him, and then they get to the and then like each of them when they jump through these universes, they're kind of like fighting their own villains, but like they'll just be like whatever kind of Sinister Six villains.
Yeah.
And then obviously they meet up with Gwen Stacy, who I'm just gonna have as Emma Stone.
Is this in a different dimension then?
Yeah, so these are all these guys are in different dimensions, but then they basically form this team of them, four of them, together, and they're basically like trying to find him home. But then as they're going through, kind of Tom Holland's kind of saying to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield that he's like, oh, my home's kind of ruined. He's like, everyone found out who I was, like Aunt May doesn't even want me around anymore. I'm too dangerous. He's like, Happy won't let me go near her. Like, I've just put my family in danger if I'm there. Like, what is even the point of me going back? And Tobey Maguire's like, yeah, he's like, I know you feel like, he's like I don't even want to be Spider. My universe is great. Like everyone loves Spider-Man, but I don't even want to be Spider-Man anymore. And Tom Holland's like,
is Andrew Garfield about to have a depressed session as well?
Sorry,
like the most depressing.
Tobey Maguire is saying that because he's like a really old Spider-Man. He doesn't want to do it anymore. And I'm counting on Tobey Maguire being like a little bit out of shape in this, which I'm 90% sure he probably is. I doubt he's not going to be in the same Spider-Man shape he was in 2000 or whatever. So he's like, he doesn't want to do it. So Tom Holland's kind of thinking like, oh, why don't I just like take over being Spider-Man in his world, because his world's pretty sick. Like he's got no issues. But then basically the whole film is like they eventually kind of find his way back. No, sorry, they're trying to find the way back, and eventually they land in a universe where they go into the Sanctum Sanctorum, and Doctor Strange is there, but it's not Doctor Strange. It is Tom Holland as Spider-Man, as the Sorcerer Supreme. So in that universe, Spider-Man is.
Oh, so this isn't his home universe. It's a different dimension.
No. They found a different dimension. So in this universe, Spider-Man is the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah.
And he's like, whoa. He's like, you look exactly the same as me. And he's like, yeah. Like they're both a bit shocked. Like they're like, what? And then he's like, so basically that's when the Spider-Man Sorcerer Supreme kind of explains the multiverse a little bit more, and he's like, "Yo, this is what you guys do. You like jump into these universes. Like, you can't be doing this. You have to go back to your own universes, otherwise, like, you won't survive in like different universes." So he kind of ruins Tom Holland's plan, and he's like, they kind of have a heart to heart like with himself because he's gonna play both characters. he's like, nah, you need to like go home to your universe, face up to your own problems. Like, you can change things. You are Spider-Man. And like there is like a motivational speech from Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire. They're like, you're Spider-Man, man. Like you can handle anything. Like you can do it. So he's like, okay, cool. So he does go back to his home universe. Oh, they all go back to his home universe first, and he's like, the Sorcerer Supreme Spider-Man's like, I'll drop you off one by one. They go straight to his home universe, and then if you go to the next one, suddenly the Sorcerer Supreme is hit by a dart and gets knocked out, and is Kraven the Hunter, which I've got Jason Momoa, obviously, because he just looks so cool as Kraven Hunter. And basically the Sinister Six have kind of like arrived. These are like the main four, and then you can have like Rhino or whoever else is like the other two. It doesn't really matter. And they've kind of assembled to try and take out Spider-Man. Oh, sorry, Scorpion will obviously be one of the other ones, and then just someone else. Because they've kind of assembled because they've like basically been looking for him and waiting in New York because he's like been dimension hopping. But as soon as he comes back, they like spot him. They take out the Sorcerer Supreme one so that they can't just dimension hop right back. And basically then there's a fight between the Spider-Men and the Sinister Six, which ultimately obviously the Spider-Man will win. And then they'll save the Sorcerer Supreme one. And then he'll open some portals, and the rest of them can like eventually go home. And that's pretty much the whole movie.
So, but you didn't address that. How's he gonna like once he gets home? Is there not like a truck of problems waiting for him?
Yeah, there is, but that's the whole point, man. You have to face your problems. You can't just run away.
Okay.
You have to find your home.
All right.
Like he's thinking, like, I can't face this. Like, what's the point? Like, there's too many problems here. Why don't I just like go live in a different universe? Like, no one even wants me here. And it's like, no, man, you got to face up to this. You're Spider-Man. You got responsibilities. With great power comes great responsibility.
Oh yeah, funny because they don't say that in any of the other films, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know
Toby
if
can
someone's going to say that, but yeah, Tobey Maguire could say that. That'd be pretty sick.
Yeah, and where does the fight happen with the Sinister Six? Is that in the Sanctum Sanctorum of the Spider Sorcerer?
It could be, yeah, because sorry, it'd be in the Sanctum Sanctorum of Tom Holland's home universe, because that's where the Sinister Six are like looking for him because they know who he is. Yeah, so that would be like the last place he was spotted. Like, I think maybe Kraven sees like security footage of him walking in or something, and then he tracks him to there, and they just wait for him to come back. So as soon as he comes back out of the portal, he just gets like hit with a dart, and then like they just attack.
Oh, wait, where's Doctor Strange at this time? How the Sinister Six
so Doctor Strange.
The Sanctum
Doctor Strange is the post credits is Doctor Strange. He's fighting whoever is the villain in Doctor Strange 2.
Oh, does this come out? Is this scheduled to come out before Multiverse of Madness?
It doesn't matter if it's before or after. It can be either.
Okay,
he's fighting whoever. Yeah, he's in the Multiverse of Madness. He's doing like this multiverse nonsense. That's why there's all these portals open all over, because he's doing some like multiverse battle against some, I don't know if it's whoever they choose, if Nightmare or someone, or Baron Mordo. So the post-credit scene could then either lead on to Doctor Strange or shows a bit of Doctor Strange. I can't remember if this is before or after Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I like the the dimension hopping montage with like Morbius and Tom Hardy's Venom. I think I'm going to steal that.
I just want a dimension hopping scene where they jump into the Tom Hardy's Venom. Tom Hardy's there, he looks at them, they look at him, and he like suddenly pulls on like his Venom mask and like does the Venom scream, and then just like nope, and jump back in the portal.
Yeah. It reminds me of in like X-Men First Class when they're recruiting people, and Professor X and Magneto, they approach Wolverine in the bar.
Yeah.
And he just tells them to F off, and then that's it. That's exactly what it reminded me of.
That would be pretty cool with Tom Hardy as well. But I think I just wanted something like that, and then you just go back and they're like, nah. And the same like with us, see like the Morbius one, then you might just see Jared Leto or Morbius or whatever. And whatever, like they're doing other movies. I think like a Black Cat one movie or whatever. There'll just be bits like that. But yeah, with them three, that'll kind of be the team. And they'll go through, and then at the end they'll fight the Sinister Six, who are like waiting for them back in his home planet.
And does yours obviously launch off the Spider-Gwen franchise then, or is this just her?
Well, it doesn't have to launch a Spider-Gwen franchise.
Okay.
But my other idea that I was thinking of, if the post-credit scene isn't Doctor Strange and doesn't lead on to that, the post-credit will be another Spider universe that they didn't go to. So that's either going to be the Spider-Man, is it 2177, the future one?
Okay.
Like Into the Spider-Verse. He's
2099, yeah.
Yeah, and then it'll be Miles Morales. So either one of them will be teased afterwards. So showing that, okay, there's still more to explore in this multiverse thing.
Yeah. Do you know what would be really cool? And I've just thought now, I mean, maybe you could have it as your post-credit scene, but I'm thinking like it would just make such a cool movie. If we're doing tie-ins with all the other franchises, obviously Venom 2 is supposed to be Venom versus Carnage, isn't it? Maximum Carnage, whatever. And isn't like the climax of that is Venom just launches like a dimension bomb to try to blow up the entire multiverse?
That would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool post-credit, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be. To be honest, I can do mid-credit, post-credit, and like there's so much to set up in a multiverse, so much to show, and like even just like then setting up the MCU, you could show so much. But yeah, that's basically it. So I'm not gonna like kill off any Spider-Man or anything either, so they can always come back.
Do you know what? But like, you obviously like part of the thing is that's this reveal, right? That Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and that obviously sets up like the motions of the first part of the film, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's like someone made a meme online about there's the easiest solution to that. Just get one of the scrolls that work for Shield to be Peter Parker standing right next to Spider-Man.
Yeah, there is loads of solutions for it, but I hate when they do that in movies where they set up some like really insane thing and you're like, oh, whoa, how are they going to get out of this? Like at the end of a movie. And then the next movie like completely ignores it and is like, oh, you know what? We solved that problem really easy. Like, yeah, there probably is a super easy solution, but what is the point of doing that whole thing and then just like, yeah, forget that? And that's why I want like this movie to like be the focus of that. Is like, oh, like this has really changed Peter Parker's life. Like this has changed Spider-Man's life. Almost like in Iron Man 1 at the end where he says, I am Iron Man.
Yeah.
He might say in this movie, actually, just thought of it now, I am Spider-Man. Like at the end, which would be pretty cool.
Oh, that would be pretty cool, yeah.
That would be pretty cool where like Tom Holland, if he defeats the Sinister Stick and then a crowd gathers round and he takes his mask off and he's like, I am Spider-Man. That would be a wicked ending.
I don't know about him revealing that to the crowd and just making it canon that he's Spider-Man.
But they all know anyway. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to erase what they did in the last film.
Yeah, I think they've wrote themselves into a really sticky situation. Personally, I don't like that. But the way you pitched it, it does sound. It would be pretty dope.
A lot of people hated it when Tony Stark revealed he was Spider-Man at the end of Spider-Man 1. Iron Man 1. Some diehard fans didn't like that because they were like, Iron Man, he always keeps his identity secret. You've ruined like a whole dynamic. But it worked.
Well, it's interesting. I tell you what, I do really want to see the Spider-Man Sorcerer Supreme though. So that's going to be such a cool scene.
Yeah, and I want that to be
Tom Holland.
Yeah, I thought that'd be good. That'd be good.
Cool. Well, guys, I think that's another episode then. As always, leave your thoughts and feedback in the comment section. Let us know, did you prefer one? Were there any changes, any improvements? Would you want to see these films? Or if you've got your own idea, then leave that in the comments below. We love reading them. And until next time, I guess that's us signing off.
Cheers, guys. See you next time.